Hello and thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to give you a quick history of US flight jackets, specifically focusing on the leather jackets. Those are the coolest ones in my opinion, and the ones that you can buy and have as an investment for the rest of your life, maybe even your kid's life. But first, a quick disclaimer. I am not a historian. I'm not somebody who knows every single variation made by every single contractor in every single submodel of flight jacket. What this is really for is to give you a high-level overview of the different types of jackets that are out there so that you could find one for yourself. Now, under each category, I'm going to give you 3 of my favorite picks that you can buy right now. So that way you can go shopping for one if you like the A1 or if you like the B3. I'm going to give you 3 different picks of each type. It's kind of funny to think of now in the modern day, but aviation really hasn't been around very long. It's a relatively new advancement, but soon after we were able to produce reliable planes, we were using them in the war effort. Now, before they actually issued any kind of real military jacket for the guys to wear, when they were piloting these things, they used to just use whatever they could to keep warm. You're talking about open cockpit, up in the sky, fighting. I mean, it was a cold job. Those guys were made out of steel. I give them a lot of respect, so they used whatever they could. It wasn't until 1927 that they issued the A1 jacket. Now, this was made by several different contractors over a period of time, so the variations are kind of numerous. What you'll see with the A1, though, is a knit waistband and cuffs, 2 pockets with flaps, 7-button front closure, and they were made out of either goatskin, sheepskin, or horsehide. Some of my picks for an A1 that you could buy right now: there's a great A1 by Goodwear Leather, another one, Real McCoy's 37 G-1, and the Himmel Brothers Heron A1 custom jacket. That's a really nice one. From 1931 to 1943, the US military used the A-2 jacket. Now, there are a couple of different variations on this one, depending on at what point in the war it was. Earlier models, when they had a little bit more money to spend, were made out of horsehide leather with a silk lining. But later on, when the government had to stretch $1 to make these things, they switched over to goatskin with a cotton lining. The A-2 model differs from the A-1 in that they added a zipper closure instead of the buttons. And they also changed to a leather collar from the earlier knit versions. Now, this was actually reissued in 1988. The A-2 just may be the most popular leather bomber that you can buy today, but here are 3 of my picks. The Real McCoy's A-2 Rough Wear is an awesome looking jacket, the Cockpit USA Mustang A-2, and the Falcon Garments A-2. In 1938, they issued the G-1 jacket. This differed from the A-2 in that they added a mouton collar and a gusseted action swing back, allowing for a lot more freedom of movement. This also removed the A-2's wind flap. Now, if you were looking through this video trying to find the Top Gun jacket, the G-1 is the Top Gun jacket, so your search is over. My picks for some nice G1s that you can pick up right now are the Brooks Brothers leather bomber jacket, the US Wings signature G1, and the Eastman G1. When planes were able to fly at much higher altitudes, more insulation was needed for the pilots. You gotta remember, these cockpits were not insulated. They weren't climate controlled. You got into this metal box and you were just expected to fly up there and drop bombs over wherever you were going. So they had to develop jackets with more insulation, and that's where the B3 came in. The B3 is my favorite flight jacket of all time. The B3 is a shearling jacket, meaning that it has sheepskin on the outside and wool on the inside, making for a very, very warm jacket. It also had a high collar with 2 leather straps to close it up if you really needed it. Now, places where you could buy a B3 right now, you could buy the Eastman B3, but my grail piece, one of the pieces that if I had all the money in the world and I could buy right now, is the Real McCoy's B3. It just, what a beautiful jacket that is. Also, there's the Schott Brothers B3, which is a great alternative at a much more affordable price point. In 1939, they introduced the B6. Now, the B6 looks like the B3 if it went on a diet. It has a lower collar with only 1 leather strap across it. Overall, just a less bulky looking jacket. Now, a couple of different versions that you can buy right now. There's the Overland Brody jacket, the Ralph Lauren Double RL shearling jacket, and the Ironheart C3 style jacket, another one that's on my grail list. Now, sometime in the mid-40s, the military switched over from leather to synthetic fabrics, but there's one more jacket, a very rare one that you almost never see in the wild out there, and that's the B7 Parka. This is a really cool jacket, only existed for 2 years, between 1941 and 1942, and it was developed for Alaskan pilots. I mean, can you imagine how cold that must have been? These were shearling parkas that looked a lot like the B3s, but they added a coyote fur lined hood and a little bit of extra length on them to keep these pilots warm. It's hard to find a version out there. I saw that you can actually buy one on Etsy, but two other places I was able to find a new B7 is the Orvis B7 Parka and the Cockpit USA B7. Now, be aware though that if you buy this jacket, you'll only really be able to wear it on the coldest of days. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense unless you live someplace like, you know, up in Canada, or if you live in a really, really cold climate, then you can get a little bit more use out of it. But here in New England, we might be able to use it in some nights, maybe in January and February. That's about it. Okay, so can you tell what kind of jacket this one right here was styled after? This is actually kind of styled after the G-1 jacket. This is the Satchel and Paige bomber, which unfortunately is no longer available. It's a real shame because I think that the Satchel and Paige jackets were tremendously undervalued, and it just seemed like they didn't realize that they were available. What a shame. What a great jacket. I'm glad I got one. But of course, I want to hear from you. Which flight jacket is your favorite? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.